Okay, gentlemen, so we're going to start off here with your notes. It's 13.2, graphing nonlinear functions. And we need to start off with a little bit of vocabulary. So here's our first thing. We have the quadratic function. And a quadratic function is a function where the input variable is squared. And I have two examples here. That might be y equals x squared and y equals 2x squared minus 3. Both of those are decent quadratic functions. We also have the absolute value function. The absolute value function is a function that has an absolute value where the absolute value of the input variable is taken. And an example of that is y is equal to the absolute value of x. Get that down now. I'm going to move on. So we're going to try a couple of examples here. So you're going to need, about 10 of these. They should be pretty quick. I don't want us to spend too long making your Cartesian planes like this. We should just, kind of run and gun here. So you can just draw a quick Cartesian plane like that on your graph paper and keep moving. But let's put some of these things in here. Remember how we create an XY chart. We're going to take the value here and we'll plug it into the equation. So y is equal to negative 4 squared, which is positive 16. Over here, this is going to be positive 4, 0, positive 4, and 16. If I put maybe a 1 in here as well, and I find the square of those are going to be 1 and 1. So now let's graph this. 0 and 0, 1 and 1, 2 and 4, 2 and 4. I'm sure you could think of this. If we had 3, that would be 9, 3, 9. And 4 is going to be up here with 16, 4 up here at 16. And we have this interesting shape here. This shape is called, this shape here, that is a parabola. That's a parabola. And a parabola has these kind of bowed out sides, so it kind of arcs along like this. Has this kind of arcing shape to it. And it's the shape that we give to the graph y equals x squared. Let's keep moving. Let's see what happens when we make this y equals 2x squared. And I'm also going to add in my negative 1, negative 3, 1, and 3 into here. So at negative 4, that's going to be 32. Right? If I have 2 negative 4 squared, that's going to be 2 times 16, which is 32. So we have 32. 18 times negative 2, it's going to be 8, 1, 2, 0, 2, 8, 18, 32. So let's graph it again. 0 and 0, negative 1, 2, 1, 2, positive 2 is going to go all the way up to 8. Positive 3 is going to go all the way up to 18, which is going to be way up here. All right? So 2, boom. Here we go. So, first question then is, when we multiply a quadratic by a whole coefficient, the graph gets taller and thinner. Okay, take time to write that down. And let's try another one here. Aha! What are we doing now? You will notice we are no longer multiplying by a whole coefficient, but by a fraction. So what's going to happen when we multiply by a fraction? Well, you could make a hypothesis right now. Let's see if it comes true. So if we multiply, well, the 8 squared, that one's going to be a bit. That one's going to be a bit crazy. So we'll drop those, I think, and maybe add in our 3 and our. So -4, -3, -2, -1, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's do those ones. So -4 squared, 16 times a half, 8. -3 squared is 9 times a half, 4.5. -2 squared is 4 times a half is 2. -1 that's going to be 1 times a half, so that's 1/2. 0, and it's going to be the same on this side. 1/2, 2, 4.5, 8. Let's place this at 1. It's going to be a half. At 2, it's going to be 2. At 3, it's going to be 4.5. 4. It'll be 8 and 8. So we can see what happens here, right? 5 would be what, 12.5? 12.5. So when we multiply by a fraction, the graph gets wider. Right? The mouth of the graph kind of opens up wide. So what happens though, I'm actually going to change this one up a bit. I don't want to do quite that one. What happens if I get y is equal to -2x squared? Well, let's drop in, again, don't need these. They're a little bit huge. Drop in that 4. So -2 times, -4 squared. It's going to be -2 times 16, -32. It's going to be -32. Down here it's going to be the same thing, -32. -2, 4 times 2, so that's going to be -8, -8, 0. So let's have a look at this one now. Start off at 0 and 0, -2, -8, -8. -4 is going to be way down here, something like that. And there we go. So multiplying by a negative coefficient does what? It flips the graph. Now we have one more that I would like to try here, and that's y is equal to the absolute value of x. So for this one, if I sub in 8, then it's going to be 8. And if I sub in -8, oops, this is an absolute value, Mr. Reed, negative, it's also going to be 8. So f of x is 8, 4, 2, 0, 2, 4, 8. Let's plot this. 0, 0. If it's 2, the absolute value is 2. If it's -2, it's -2. If it's 4, the absolute value is 4. If it's 5, it's 5. Maybe we can see what's going on here. 3, 4 and 4. 7 is going to be 7. And so we end up with y is equal to the absolute value of x. So this one is more like a V. And that's all.